Greetings and welcome to Pinball Help. Mike here. Today I am going to talk about playfield waxing and how to take care of your pinball playfield to keep it in as good a condition as you can. So I'll talk about the different kinds of products and stuff that are available and what I do to maintain all these various machines. As you'll see, they're just all over the place, and at any given moment I'm working on them. Whenever I work on a machine and I get it working, I tend to like to wax the playfield. So I'm going to go over that. I'm going to talk about different kinds of waxes and things like that. So first off, why wax the playfield? Well, this is a wood surface that's covered with paint and lacquer and some other things, and has got a big, very heavy ball that bounces around on it, so it will definitely wear it out. And if you don't keep the surface clean, it'll wear off. It'll destroy the artwork. It'll change the play of the game. It devalues the pinball machine. It does a bunch of things. But the most important thing in keeping the playfield in your game in good condition is to replace the ball. Let me see if I kick the ball out here. Should always check your balls to see, I know, ha ha ha. You should always check the ball to see what kind of condition it's in. If there's any rust on it or any kind of problem at all with it, you want to replace it. You want it to be super duper shiny. You want it to just be like a mirror. You do not want it to have little rust spots on it or stuff like that. You want it nice and really, really clean and polished. Now you could buy new balls. You can sometimes polish the balls yourself, put them in a tumbler, clean them. But it's not a bad idea, even if you're not going to replace it, to just clean them every now and then. Keep them pretty nice, nice and safe. Okay, so I'm going to turn this game off because it's got a little automatic thing that rolls around. And so back to cleaning the playfield. Number one, make sure that you're using a good ball. Number two, clean the playfield of any debris. Dirt and dust bouncing around when mixed with this steel ball all over the place will definitely cause you problems. It's like an abrasive material that will cause additional problems. There's a couple of things that you want to kind of pay attention to make sure that your playfield stays really nice. After the clean ball, make sure there's no debris. Take a look at your inserts. If it's an older machine, sometimes these plastic inserts shrink and they become concave and they create a little bit of a dip there. And when a ball is bouncing across that, it's pretty violent, and you'll often see on these old machines, you'll see a lot of wear around the dip. Oh, look at that. It just fell off. Look at that. That was a nut that looks like it broke. So that's not good. I'm not a big fan of these plastic nuts, so I'll have to fix that too. Yeah, every time you touch your game, you kind of pay attention. But a little piece like this, a little plastic piece like this bouncing around can cause some damage on the playfield. So, back to where we were. I'm getting distracted a lot, aren't I? You want to make sure that your inserts are level. And I did a whole video series on how to level these inserts. But if you can't or you don't have time to be able to do anything like that, or it's a little bit too advanced, keeping the playfield waxed on a regular basis and making sure the ball is clean will definitely go a long way towards reducing the amount of wear you will have around things like that. So it's also important to note where the wear areas are on a pinball machine. The most common areas where the pinball is going to be worn are going to be kick-out holes from where balls are. You'll see, let me see if I can zoom in on it right here. And I've got wax on this playfield, so it's a little bit hazy. But you can see right there is a little piece where it's worn down to the wood from this kick-out where the ball bounces. Now what I've done in this case is I put a little piece of Mylar over it. Normally I would touch it up first, but I haven't had a chance to, so in the meantime I've put a piece of Mylar over to keep it from getting worse. But eventually I would match that paint over it, and then put a piece of Mylar over. Mylar will definitely help in areas where there's definitely going to be some ball impact. You usually see that on kickouts, and you see that around the pop bumpers too. Now most games have a little plastic skirt around the pop bumpers here that designed to protect it. But all around here is a very violent area. You can see I need to replace this top here. But all around here is a very violent area, so you want to make sure that there's Mylar there appropriate, and then different other little areas. So you identify those areas, you protect them, and then you wax the playfield. Now, there's all kinds of people that have all kinds of opinions on what the best kind of wax is to use on playfields. I've tried all different kinds. I've tried some of those pinball only stuff like Wildcat, the surface cleaners, and that kind of protected stuff. But I'll go through. The first wax that I used to use was this really traditional Johnson's paste wax. I think this is kind of with the stuff that they used on bowling alleys, you know. And it's very oily. It never fully dries. But it's probably really good for the wood. You know, it's very oily and it'll condition the wood. I don't use this much anymore, but I do think this is more useful for putting wax on older games like wood rails and waxing the actual finished wood product. I think this really does bring out a beautiful shine and color to raw wood. Moving beyond that, you have different kinds of wax. You have what's called a cleaner wax, and this is a wax that you typically lay down and that attracts dust and other particles and kind of pulls it all up when you wipe the wax off of. So it kind of settles and smooths over the thing. And this is a good wax to use after you've done an initial playfield clean, and you want to just lay this down. When you pull this up, it may take up some other microscopic dirt and make it a little bit cleaner. So you know, again, I may use this early on when I'm initially reconditioning a game, but once I get to regular maintenance of the game, I'll switch to a Carnuba Wax, this is a common one that everybody uses. The higher the percentage of Carnuba, I don't know. So this stuff, plus it smells good. It reminds you, you know, of those old days when the bubblegum cards, because I think they coated the bubblegum cards with this kind of wax. I don't know, but it just smells good. Smell? What you think? Anyway, this is my go-to wax for a long, long time. A lot of people still use this. This is good. It works really well. It hardens pretty. It hardens. It dries into a pretty hard protective shell. But the downside of the Carnuba waxes is that they leave that white, milky haze. So if you don't get every little spot, and you can always tell when a game has had wax on it, because you can look around the posts and you can often see little white stuff, you know, in little areas where they didn't clean it. Which is why I don't use this anymore, and I use synthetic wax. This stuff called Tech Wax. It's also by Meguiar's. And by the way, I am not paid to endorse this. Although if you Meguiar people are watching, feel free to send me some for free. That would be awesome. No, this is the stuff that I use, and here's why I like this stuff. It dries fast and it dries clear, and I think it works just as well as the Carnuba. And it's pretty easy to administer. Sometimes these bottles are thick, sometimes they're thin. I don't know if there's something in there that hardens up. But anyway, this is what I like to use. It's called Tech Wax 2.0. It dries. It's really shiny, and it dries clear. So if you miss a spot, it doesn't really matter. Of course, the downside to that is you can't always remember where it is, but you can feel it. So now let's talk about applying wax. Typically, you put your wax on and you just, you run it all over. You use a kind of more, this is not the ideal pad to apply the wax. It's more of the less porous one. And I've been looking for mine. It's around here behind one of these machines somewhere. But anyway, you put it down and you put it all over, and you put down a thin coat. Don't lay a bunch of it down because you're just wasting wax. So put down a nice thin coat, and this is still wet here. And I also sometimes I'll just use my fingers and and work it into it, and nice thin coat. I'd already poured it down here, so I'm kind of just laying it down. I like to, make sure you put it around any area where, like the edges of these holes and stuff like that, to just, reduce any parts where there's going to be splintering and things like that. So I'll put that on there, and I'll leave it to dry. The directions on how long it takes to dry these things varies, but I think it's, if you can afford to, do it overnight. Come back in the morning and do it, and that way it's really hardened. And then you use a microfiber cloth. This is a microfiber pad, but a little small microfiber cloth. I'm a big fan of using these. You can get them everywhere. Just inspect it to make sure there's no debris or sawdust or a burr in there, because these things tend to attract all kinds of stuff stuck in them, and you don't want to be running that across there and then scrape something on your playfield. So that, in a nutshell, is how you keep your playfield nice and clean. And I would say you wax it. The frequency that you wax it should really be dependent upon how often you're playing the game. I would say in a home environment, waxing it every 200 to 300 games at the least, would be a good idea. And on location, I like to wax the games every 2 weeks or so. They tend to get definitely a little bit more beat up. So here's a nice example, and we're going to let this thing just kind of dry, and I'll come back, and it should be good to go. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Oh, another thing, I like to wax around the buttons. So when I'm cleaning, I'll clean around the buttons, and then when I'm done, I'll also run a little wax just around the sides of the machines here. I'll just go zip around here, and then dry that off. It probably makes the machines a little bit more hygienic, and that always helps. So for more, visit pinballhelp.com. You can catch me on facebook.com/pinballhelp, Twitter/pinballhelp. We've also got a Twitter channel now, Mystic Crew, MYSTICKREWE, where I'm occasionally doing live video broadcasts, just because I'm bored and seeing if there's anybody out there that's interested. So I appreciate you guys paying attention. If you like what I'm doing and want to help support this, go to pinballhelp.com. There's information there, more about us, and we're building this video library, and I hope you appreciate it. So thanks for watching.